Let's talk business now with Ross Greenwood. And Ross, as you know better than anyone, it's always very dangerous to make predictions in your area of expertise. I came on here last night and said, oh, well, retail sales figures will be out tomorrow and it'll show that everyone has stopped spending. How wrong could I be?
Yeah, well, that's true, but then, cut yourself a bit of a break because consumption is down. What's happening is that basically over the course of the past year, people have bought around 4.2% more stuff, but the reality is that's just price rises. So they're buying less stuff but having to pay more for it. And so in the past month or so, the retail sales up by 0.7%. And do consider also that it's around 28% higher than what it was pre-COVID, just as COVID hit. So, we broadly are spending more stuff, but inflation now is starting to mean that Australians are having to spend more for the same things. So they're cutting back. It's just that they're spending more on the basics as well.
So when you drill into the figures, is it obvious what people are saying? Well, I have to spend money on this. I can't spend money on that.
Yes, and remember that there are really two parts or even three parts of Australia right now. Those who are paying rent are paying significant amounts more for that rent. Those with mortgages or those who are building houses are paying especially significant amounts more. But then you've got around a third of the economy, people who really don't have rent, don't have a mortgage, own their own homes, and their discretionary income is not being affected much at all. So this is a reason why in many ways we've almost got a three-speed economy right now when it comes to, if you like, the ordinary families. But then remember that more than 50% of Australia's economy comes from our domestic spending. And so this personal consumption is such an important part of our economy. Discretionary spending, that's being cut back upon. There's no doubt about that. But then you get to some areas of Australia where there is savings, there's significant equity in homes, and consumption's not falling at all.
One of the reasons I made those comments was the remarks by Gerry Harvey from Harvey Norman yesterday, where he said he was seeing, pretty basic cutbacks from most of his stores around the country. I guess you look at that and you say, well, during COVID, when people were locked up in their homes, many people chose to go out and buy a big new TV or replace the washing machine or the fridge. Well, they don't need to do that now because all those things are new. So they're not going to Harvey Norman and buying those things that they purchased maybe in 2020 and 2021.
Oh, it's so true. And of course, people aren't locked up anymore. And so they've got discretion. If you go back a couple of days, Qantas came out and reaffirmed its profit results for this year. And really, again, even then, Alan Joyce said people are really preferring travel spending with their discretionary money over other forms of spending. And so while, say, Gerry Harvey might be feeling it at the moment because people aren't buying the plasma televisions or replacing their kitchen or whatever it might be, people are now choosing to either take domestic or international travel. Now, the interesting part about that is that we know that airfares domestically are starting to normalise compared with pre-COVID levels. There's more competition there also prompting that. But on the other side of it, even Qantas is saying it won't be until the middle of next year that you'll see some sort of normalisation in competition and the number of flights coming into and out of Australia that will see overseas airfares normalise. So they're still elevated compared with where they were.
While we're in the business of predictions, what do you think might happen at the board meeting next Tuesday?
Look, my gut feel is they keep interest rates on hold at least for 1 month, but they do tell us that their preference is to keep raising interest rates. Now, remember that also Philip Lowe, we don't quite know this. We're going to find out in the next week or so from the Treasurer as to whether he keeps his job or whether it goes to somebody else. The suggestion there is it does go to somebody else. But he might, between now and September, really finish the job of the interest rate rising cycle to get to the end of it with a couple more interest rate rises. And so that being done, the new governor of the Reserve Bank, if that's what takes place, really has a clean sheet with which to then look at interest rates, look at our monetary policy, and to also sort of, if you like, create the reforms that the Reserve Bank is going to go through over the next 12 to 18 months.
Ross, your Sunday series on Sky, which has just been sensational, Secrets of My Success. We've had male strippers and V8 supercars. You're back on Sunday at 8:30. You're going to speak to a very intriguing person, Richard White. He was once a struggling musician, as your promos are saying. He's now CEO of Wise Tech Global. Do you think I will have ever spoken into one of his microphones, Ross?
No, not that man. So I've got to tell you that he's gone through a whole lot of
this
different
is a different
things.
one.
Not Rode microphones. No, I know that's what you're thinking about. No, this man who was AC/DC's guitar technician. He did the guitars for the Angels. He did them for for a range of different people. Cold Chisel, all sorts of people. Anyway, so his story is that he went from that to creating lighting systems to then creating big sound desks and all that sort of stuff, and then eventually found his way into software. And then it was all about logistics. This is the ability to move goods and products from one side of the country to the other side of the world. And by being able to have the software that allows that to be done seamlessly, he's now the 12th richest man in Australia, said to be worth somewhere between $4 and $5 billion. And this has all come. But the great part of his story, which is just brilliant because it's all about music and rock and roll, is that he lives in the same home that he was born in the modest suburb of Bexley in Sydney. And this is one of the great parts. His mum's in the house that he was born in. Yeah, he's gone back, he's done it up and all that sort of stuff. It's a pretty amazing place. And we'll take you and show you all of that as a part of this documentary of somebody who's been able to maintain his roots while all at the same time creating enormous amounts of wealth, not just for himself, but for others around him as well.
8:30 Sunday. I don't know how you find these people, Ross, but they are fascinating, and you really do winkle out of them some incredible stories. Thank you, Ross Greenwood. Great to catch up, mate.